What is up, everybody? This is Lyle, No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. I am coming at you from the Loves in Hinton, Oklahoma. I-40 exit 101. Decided I had to take a shower, man. This last week has been crazy. We'll get into that in a second, but I had a load where I could probably get the load in by payroll cutoff, be around 3,200 miles, something like that for the week. And I just figured, you know what? I needed this shower more than I needed anything to go through on this payroll situation. So went in here, took a shower, and then I'm gonna take a nap for a couple hours and then go deliver this load. But this has been a crazy week, let me tell you. I got a load. First of all, I rented a car, went out to Springfield. I think I spoke about that in a video. And then got a load from Springfield going back to Colorado. My next load out of there was picking up at a meat plant in Dodge City. And luckily, this was like the first time in a while that I had a load ready early. I was trying to get there early and the roads were just too slick. I was trying to get there at 04. Didn't get there till like noon because I had to get off the road and let that little sunlight get on that ice on I-70. That was no joke. So anyway, the load I got was a 3-dropper. First one in Baton Rouge, second one in New Orleans, and that might be the worst city I've had to go down into. Probably damn near worse than New Jersey. And then third drop was in Loxley, Alabama. So, multi-drop loads really aren't my favorite to begin with. But the way these appointments were staggered really affected your sleep schedule. And I think a lot, and my hands are ashy because I just got out of that shower. But I think a lot of people, new people that may not understand their clock correctly, might have had a hard time getting this load done. And not only that, it was just hard to find parking. So my first drop-off was in Baton Rouge, or Rouge, however they say it down there. Had an appointment there at 11 p.m. Okay? My next drop-off was the next morning at 10 a.m. Not quite enough time to get a 30-minute break. And where are you going to park in that area? Luckily, I found somewhere to park, hold up a bit, and got down there. But still, I'm kind of working on a split clock. Get down there, and New Orleans is a mess. Now, I'm going to try to put little nuggets in there for brand new people that are coming into this business. Sometimes you got to paint outside the lines. So I'm coming down in New Orleans, and it's not quite downtown, but it's kind of downtown. And you got to make this left, but the left isn't a left, it's almost a V. And there was only one turn lane, far left lane. So sometimes you just got to play by prison rules. So I crowded up both lanes. So I got kind of in the second lane over, enough to where nobody could come up behind me, and stayed enough in the left lane so nobody would try to come up my left-hand side. And then when I went to make the turn, I kind of even went into the third lane and came around. But that place was a mess. There were drivers. Luckily, I got there early because it started stacking up at this place. But I saw a driver driving through a neighborhood, because that's where your normal GPS will take you. And I was like, man, I'm glad I'm not him. So anyway, got that load delivered. I actually got out of there a couple of hours early, but then my next appointment was at like midnight or something like that, 180 miles away. So still not far enough to really get a full break or anything like that, or I was working on my hours from before. And So went and delivered that. As a matter of fact, I got to do reviews on all 3 of those places. 2 of them were excellent. 1 of them not so much. So soon before I even delivered that load, I got another load that was picking up about 200 miles away. And at first when I looked at the load, I'm like, oh great, this is perfect. I'll get a day to rest because I was wore out. But then something always tells me, always double check, triple check. I mean, I'm obsessed about making sure I have everything correct as far as times go. And then once I looked at it again, I was like, man, this is 12 o'clock today. You know, because it's like 1 a.m. in the morning. I was like, oh God. So drove out there, and then the problem with this load was it was, you know, I spent 3 hours of my clock, or a little bit more than that, getting to the place. And then once I left that place, it was more than one drive shift. It was like maybe 13 hours to get out here because it was about 700 and something miles. So I had to run it out enough to where I was comfortable with how much time, you know, I didn't want to run out of clock on my way out here. So I ended up having to push my drive. So I'm like in this Monroe, Louisiana on I-20 area, and I stopped at a place and I had about 640 miles to get out here. And I actually went inside and paid for parking. And I sat in the truck a little while, and I was like, man, I got to go through Dallas. I got to go through, forget what other city in Louisiana I had to go through. I was like, man, I don't feel comfortable leaving that much on. So I drove about 80 miles further ahead, worried the entire time if I was going to find parking. So I had this Love's picked out. Oh, I know what I needed too. I needed fuel. I was at a quarter tank, and that reefer was humming at 20 degrees. So I had to get some fuel. So I stopped the Love's. I was like, all right, I'll see if there's some parking. Nope, no parking. There were people creatively parked all over the place at this Love's. Right across the street, there was, it said it was a casino, but really it was a truck stop. Right across the street, there's probably 25, 30 spots open. So I found a place to stop for the night. And finally got a chance to like get a good 10 hours of sleep. And before I went to sleep, there was a flatbed driver, and I know they don't back a lot, but there's a flatbed driver that was trying to back, and he messed up his back. He tried to do a straight back, but he wasn't able to pull out far enough to straighten out his tandems. So I'm thinking he pulled out of that, and then he could have either reset up and parked next to me, or, you know, because there were like 2 spots open there, or he could have straight backed a little bit and kind of come around this truck just a tad bit and get into a spot there. But he just gave up and drove away. I was like, I don't know where you plan on finding parking, but he did that. So anyway, enough about that. My last video, I spoke about a driver that said he wasn't going to risk his CDL. Luckily, he didn't have no CDLs, because them bad boys are a little bit less common, but he wasn't going to risk his CDL because he was driving overweight. And I did a video on that, but I misspoke in the video. So I was going to redo that again and kind of go through my logic. There's one thing about this. Being a truck driver, you don't have to be the smartest person in the world, but sometimes you do have to put a little bit of brain power into some of these situations. So I was going to break that load down into how I came up to my conclusion and things like that, and do that video. But I'm going to do that maybe tomorrow, because I should have a chance to I told my fleet manager I'm getting unloaded. I'll probably be unloaded at 9 p.m. I don't even want to see a pre-plan for at least 12 hours. So give me a couple extra hours on top of that. And oh yeah, there's no washout nearby. So kind of factor that in. So anyway, that is about it. There was another tip I was thinking about. I'm going to try to mix in just like one rookie driver tip with each video, think I covered that a little bit with this one, but there was one that I just, here's another tip. And I'm thinking about it because I just did this a few days ago. When I was delivering in New Orleans, I'd heard about it, but I'd never drove it. So if I was fully loaded, I was past every weigh station at this point, and on my particular load, I've already delivered my first load, so I'm underweight anyway. I slid. If you're going into some of these cities, Pennsylvania comes to mind, New York, New Jersey, anywhere you think is going to be tight, slide your tandems to the front before you get down in there. I could just imagine how much tougher that left turn would have been in New Orleans had my tandems been 3 or 4 holes back wherever they were before I went out there. But hopefully I'll get to comments pretty soon. Really, all I've been trying to do is sleep when I've had an opportunity to sleep, because this schedule's been a little raggedy lately. So I'll get to these comments a little bit more. And that's about it. I do appreciate you guys stopping by. No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. As always, comment, subscribe, and I'm out.